Hi, this is Niall Munnelly.
Hi, this is Dominic and Niall Munnelly.
And welcome to FSM RX.
Welcome to FSM RX.
Guys, welcome to FSM RX. I'm Stephen Kinsella. I'm here with Dominic and Niall Munnelly, and we're here at CrossFit Green, and we're going to ask two of the best in Ireland about their careers and what they're doing with their clients. So, guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, guys, you've been in Dominic. You've been in the industry longer,
Yeah.
and you are, quite frankly, known as one of the best personal trainers in the country.
Yep.
So just a little bit, like, we don't want to go, like, you've done a lot of interviews and we kind of, a lot of people that follow you know your kind of background and you train in parks and stuff like that, but how many years have you been doing personal training? And like, yeah, so how many years have you been doing the personal training on scene?
Yeah, well, probably if I go right back, I did a physiology cert first down in Carlow, then went on and did a sports science degree, worked in commercial gyms for about 8 years, and then for probably about the last 12 or 11 years, I've been running personal training, and then in the last couple of years helped set up the gym down in Kildare with my brother, and now myself and a colleague of mine, Siobhan, basically run all the personal training from here in CrossFit Green.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as you, that's grown for you, then you came on the scene when you opened the Performance Fitness Academy.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing before? Were you doing a fair bit before that as a personal trainer or doing coaching or?
I was actually with Dominic.
Yeah.
So I was in New Zealand for 3 years, and Dominic was back in Ireland.
He was getting fat for 3 years.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I was, yeah, basically. And came home bulked, swole, and no, I just said to Dominic, like, what is he doing? And Dominic was in CrossFit Ireland at this stage, and he was like, you got to get into this CrossFit. You have to get into this CrossFit, it's the new thing, blah blah, non-stop talking about it, and I was like, I don't know.
I just thought he'd enjoy it as well.
Yeah. So I was basically going through a commercial gym, and I was an electrician at the time, and I was finding it very hard to find work. So basically I said to Dominic, I said, well, I was going up to train with him all the time, and he was giving me books, and I was studying all this kind of stuff for my own training, and I was learning as much as I could from Dominic, and I was thinking about going back to college, like, what do you think? And he was like, brilliant. So went back to college, got my cert, and interned with Dominic then while going through college, and it was all in the guts of maybe about a year to a year and a half interning with Dominic before we even thought about
doing
this.
a full-time job as well, which was very unrewarding as well. So it's important for people to kind of understand that the amount of effort it requires, whereas a lot of people do these sort of things and they go to college, that's what they do full-time, whereas now there's holding down a job, interning with me, doing this course, you know, all at the same time. So it kind of fast-tracked a lot of it, but there was a shit ton of work that went into it.
So you've got, like, when you're, like, for you and like a lot of, and yourself as well, when you started as a personal trainer, it wasn't just like a lot of trainers come out of the industry and it's like, oh yeah, where's my clients? It's like, well, no one knows who you are. You've got no real kind of on the ground experience, and you've never kind of grinded your way through an internship and had to work and fail and learn and kind of mess up so many times to become the trainer you are. Like, and the evolution of you becoming who you are was a process.
100%, because I got to make mistakes, not in a bad way, with Dominic's clients. You know what I mean? So like Dominic, like, messed up, I learned that way. So I learned through his clients, and him teaching his clients, and him letting me jump in with his clients and kind of like, what do you think here and what do you think there, and he'd take a step back. But he'd always tell the clients, look, my brother's here today, is it okay if he kind of takes you a little bit? And it gave me confidence then to get into training. As you said, there's people who are doing college certs and stuff like that, and just, okay, straight into a unit, I'm good to go, whatever like that. And there's even people out there with no qualifications and are open gyms. So that's the thing about it, which is absolutely madness, but to pretend to have qualifications, that's another story. But the thing about it is, I learned as much as I could through Dominic and his training techniques and all that kind of stuff, and then Dominic got me to set up a blog. So then I started blogging to get interest down my area and stuff, so people get to know who I was.
And the blogging also served as a purpose for him to consolidate his ideas on what he was teaching.
Yeah.
I've written about this before, that a lot of the major problem with any trainer, doesn't matter if it's personal trainer, strength coach, CrossFit coach, is that they don't have anything that shows they've sat down, they clearly can understand it, because saying something in an Instagram post or a Facebook post is not the same as writing in a permanent blog post.
Yeah.
So it served a huge purpose for that, and that learning curve still exists today. Like what we have disagreements over today are far less than what we would have had in the first year of opening up that business, where it was primarily around programming and that sort of side of things. And there is a kind of like, you know, move things forwards a little bit, okay, that didn't work, or, you know, and it's kind of that forward and back until you find that middle ground. Whereas a lot of, I think the biggest problem in CrossFit right now is people who are new to CrossFit are teaching CrossFit or strength and conditioning at a place where that was like 5 years ago. So they don't realize the whole of the industry has moved on, but they're still coaching in a way that's you know, throwing too much at their clients from day one, as opposed to building their clients up very, very slowly.
Yeah, and that's a very important thing. And I what you said, like you made mistakes with clients, and like I've made mistakes with clients, and if I went and met myself when I first started personal training, well, as a personal trainer then, my job was to keep everyone safe. But I did, like if I was to look at what I was programming, I'd be like, I wouldn't do that, because some of that could have been a bit too aggressive, or you weren't pushing them hard enough, and like, but that's the learning curve.
That's evolution, as a coach.
Yeah, as you grow and grow and grow. And I think that's a huge thing, and you got to learn, obviously, from someone that had been there before you in the trenches, had made them, you made mistakes as growing as a personal trainer.
I think I've made a lot less than most people. What I've seen is what I was doing with my clients individually even 4 or 5 years ago is now where a lot of people who are teaching CrossFit in boxes, it's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
So I've always been, without sounding arrogant, but I've always seen myself as being at the forefront of like, look, this is why you need to do these things in this order, you know, as opposed to people like first day go in and the person's kind of learning how to do a kipping pull-up. You don't have a pull-up, you have no right to be doing a movement like that yet. So it's trying to show people that there's a smart way of doing this, and you don't need to hurt your clients along the way. Now that can happen regardless of whatever safety stuff you put in place, because there's only so much you can do with a client. But I think it's looking at the whole picture. It's looking at the nutrition, looking at the training, looking at the mobility components, and then being smart about that. And that's why, you know, the way we have the gym set up down in Kildare, there's 2 distinct classes. There is a boot camp class, which is more of an emphasis on, you know, lighter weights, simpler movements, and a strength and conditioning class. And some people will never move on or move back between the two too much. So, you know, we're giving people what they want, but also a lot of what they need.
Yeah. And then like you have the Performance Fitness Academy, and that's been growing, but like how did that concept come about when you said like I want to open a gym, or was it you wanted, like, was it just kind of sitting there going,
it was funny,
I had like $100 grand. I didn't know what to do with it. I was like,
here,
under the mattress.
Do something.
Yeah, like keep yourself busy over there.
Go Vegas and not.
Yeah.
But what happened was, I was in college. I was saving up. I was working 2 jobs. I was an electrician, also working security up in Phoenix. So I was saving up. So there was 2 options. I was either going to set up something with Dominic, or I got me going to CrossFit level 1, and I was going to go to Canada.
Yeah.
And I was going to set up a gym over in Canada. That was my plan.
Yeah.
Move to Canada, set a gym up in Canada. A few weeks even before I was deciding to book my ticket to Canada, I was getting my visa, getting everything done. Dominic just said to me, he goes, look, how about we set up a gym down your way or whatever? You've always been saying you're traveling up to Dublin to do all this kind of stuff, whatever. You know, would there something happen down there? Would there be business down there? And I said, well, I think so, like, you know. And he said, how about we just try it out for a year and see how it goes? So I needed money I had saved and whatever, and we just put it together and opened up the gym, and then that's how it kind of came about.
Also, just keep in mind, like, you were also, I remember going to Wayne Healy's, a quite well-known Olympic lifting coach within Ireland. He was going to see Wayne twice a week out in Bray. So again, it's kind of coming back to that whole idea that a lot of people tend to think, especially in CrossFit, that I need to do this course, and then it's on to the next course, and then clock offs in town, I need to go to that. You are going to learn very, very little within those 2-3 hours sort of time brackets. Whereas if you're investing 2-3 hours twice a week, every week, like, that's the whole idea of like, what I always say is do do coaches, not courses.
Yeah.
So spend some time with a coach instead of thinking that you need to do X course, Y course. Like there is still validity to doing those courses, absolutely. But you're going to have it's going to be a lot easier to get a lot more from working with somebody consistently that you trust. You know, that's and that you have access to anyway.
Yeah, and we when I was with CrossFit Ireland, went back in Tala. Oh no, he just moved to Sandyford, and that's when I left, and I went to ECB with Sammy and Barry and Wayne was there coaching and stuff. And the reason was because through CrossFit I wanted to be a weightlifter. I wanted to be a better weightlifting coach. So the only thing to do was to go train with weightlifters and compete as a weightlifter and learn all the faults, all the flaws, how to progress and how to work from literally the ground to the bar, putting weight on. And I remember the first month the lads wouldn't let me put a weight on the bar. Yeah. And I was like, hold on, I have a 62 kilo snatch. Like, you don't understand. Like, I'm a CrossFitter. I can do. And then Birdie's like,
It's funny, you go onto Instagram and I see it all the time. You see young guys that are new in the game and they're doing like a snatch or a clean and they're using, very, very moderate loads. But to them it's huge, which is fine. But they're then also saying, if you want to learn these lifts, come talk to me. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you don't even have like an efficient snatch or clean that's worth talking about, and yet you feel that you're comfortable coaching that. Yeah. Like that's like, swimming a length of a pool and going, if you need some swimming lessons, I'm your man. I just made it to the end of the pool. Yeah. Like it would not exist in any other realm. But the problem with a lot of the fitness industry is that
you have
people
a piece of paper.
Yeah, you have a piece of paper, you have very minor qualifications, you have tiny bits of information, and then people are going onto sites like T-Nation and their whole workout of the week is like whatever T-Nation has put up on that week. And they don't have enough ability to step back and kind of go, okay, here's how I need to simplify things. A bit like what Dan John has done and made it very, very simple and and put it into his quadrants and breaking it down. If I had only 15 minutes to work out, what would I do? But we do the same thing in classes. We're very focused on what's going to give us the biggest bang for our buck. How can we do this in the proper manner? And then you got to fit that into a 1 hour block as well, which is no joke.
Well, that's the thing. Like you could take, as you said, you can go to Clocoff. And we said, guys in our gym went to Clocoff and came back and like, I want to do my Olympic lifting like this. Yeah. Oh, but he does. No. Why? Because you don't do that. You were weightlifting 3 months. Yeah, exactly. He's been doing it so many years now. But like online, you as you said, like people go on T-Nation, they see these things, and like, I want to try this, and then Smoloff comes up, I want to do it, and I don't want to do that.
Program hopping.
And the one thing that you have, and we spoke about it earlier when you just first came in, was your blog, your website has an abundance of free content, tutorials on mobility, training, nutrition, everything there, and you give it away for free because you feel like it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do.
And I like it. If I wasn't doing this tomorrow, if I wasn't getting paid for what I would do, I'd still write about it. Yeah. I'd still want to kind of tell people like, this is my experience. Here's what I know that works. And get people to understand that there's a way to do this work that I do, and even if I wasn't working in the industry, a way to do this whole fitness lab. Long term without hurting yourself and while still enjoying it, because a lot of people will go to that CrossFit stage or training stage where they'll be crazy about it. I think I was listening to Joe Rogan recently in one of his podcasts, and they called it like blue belt in jiu-jitsu, where the guy who's a blue belt who's just about to get his like advanced next level up, all they talk about is jiu-jitsu. So you get these people in CrossFit strength, all they talk about is like strength and conditioning, CrossFit. I've got my nano and Reebok head to toe, But then there comes a point where that'll fade away, and they don't talk about it so much anymore because they get into this stage of like not liking it maybe because they've been working out too hard for too long, and they need to kind of rediscover their love for it all over again. So there's ways of doing it right, and there's ways of doing it where you're just going to go through periods of getting hurt and go forward and back all the time,
Well, I think that can make a good coach, like when you experience things, so you don't, like, I've done things that ended up with an injury, and obviously now I make sure my clients avoid what I did, and the coaches that we work with and the interns we have, it's the same thing as like, listen, I've been doing this 13 years, you can get to where I am in half the time,
yeah,
if you avoid certain pitfalls, just don't go down a road. But I think there's a life cycle of a trainer, and there is that kind of, I'm a purist and this is what I'm doing and no one else is going to tell me any different, because there's one guy out there, and whether it's James Fitzgerald or Dan John or whatever, like, he's my golden goose, and I'm gonna listen whatever he says jump, I say hi, and then it comes all full circle, and you're kind of like, well, everyone's right, depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah, it all depends.
And it doesn't have to be this kind of, I gotta die on the floor every day I come into the gym, I gotta be sweating, blood, sweat and tears, I gotta rip my hands, and I gotta wear all the head to toe.
I can't do a workout
I can't do CrossFit unless I have
my
Reebok gear,
gotta have the belt, like they're all great tools and everything, but at the same time, like, I think most people need to strip it all back and kind of get the basics right from the beginning. Because personally, I know for me, when I did my last big competition, that was Battle London last year. Was it last year or the year before?
It was last year.
I think it was last year.
It was last year.
February last year.
The floor,
yeah, that's right. That was an eye opener. Like within a year, the level had jumped like astronomically. Like the previous year, as an example, maybe let's say out of 100 girls, like a handful, like 15 were getting muscle ups, like proper efficient muscle ups. Whereas the next year, like almost all the girls had muscle ups consistently. You only had a very, very small handful, like 2 or 3 that did not have muscle ups. So that meant if you're a guy, like guys were clean and jerking like 130, 140 kilos as part of a complex. And then, you see small things in the warm-up area and you're like, wow, I am not at the races at all here. I still finished in the middle of the pack, which was fine, but this whole idea that like people are kind of getting caught up about where they're placing in kind of a competition like that, but like you're so far down the pack, it doesn't matter. Like the difference between you and the guy that's in the top 10 is still astronomical. So people need to, what I did is I took a step right back, didn't do the open again this year, so to concentrate on what I need to fix if I want to do this long term, and that's more geared towards, let's say, a master's level of competition, which will happen for me next year.
And and that's one thing that one of the questions I want to bring up, because you were the last male to go to regional.
Well, myself, Will, and Michael Price as well. So mainly myself and Will would have done obviously the best there.
And in Ireland, and you have some really good guys as well, like doing CrossFit or competing and stuff like that. We have girls getting there, but we don't have guys getting there. And I know we have good guys. Do you think that it's just the standard? I've been told before, and Amy laughing saying that she reckons it's just our population. I don't believe it's because we have a smaller population that we don't have the quality. I think we have quality
look
guys.
At Iceland.
Yeah.
Iceland's got a fraction of what we have, and still produces lots of male and female athletes.
I think just people in different countries are just more active. From a younger age, say gymnastics.
More.
All that kind of stuff. They're more active and all that kind of stuff. I just think, I don't want to sound bad, but I don't know. Just think
there's that, and it's coaching as well. Like there's a lot of aspects where if I look at a guy, I can tell you pretty much straight away. I can tell you what I need to work on, but I can also tell you what each of the individuals. So I watch videos of people doing things, and I could tell you like, that's his problem. Like yes, he has 150 kilo power clean. Who cares? Because every time he goes to handstand workout, the muscle up workout, he dies of death. So you're only as good as what your weakest event is if we're strictly talking about CrossFit. So stuff like that doesn't impress me. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Because when that person goes to competition setting, here's what I see. And I don't see it once, I see it all the time. So there comes a point where the person needs to step back, go back and assess what they need to work on. Let certain skills that they have locked in already, whether that's like, I have a 210 kilo back squat, great. But you know what? You're never really going to use that 210 kilo back squat in your event because certain other components of your game are lacking, so I think that's the major problem a lot of guys have, and some of that's an ego driven thing. Girls are more likely to ask for help and be like, of course I can have help. Like right now there's 2 regional athletes training in this gym. Is that why is that? Because girls are probably more likely to kind of man up and be like, or woman up and be like, I need some help. Whereas guys are more like, I'll tough it out, I'll be fine.
I think that there's definitely something missing, and it's probably to do with a bit of ego with guys. But I just think that it's not the fact that we don't have the capability. I just think there's something missing. There's a missing link, and I just don't think we're training with or being coached at the level that the other guys are being coached, and we have good coaches. Like John has like you're John Belton, Colin O'Reilly. Like there's really good coaches in Ireland to help guys get there. But it's I suppose it's that kind of like you need to come out and be willing to sacrifice time, money to work with these guys. And I know I'm missing other guys out there. There is some Brendan Walsh and all the other guys that are around the country, but you need to be willing to sacrifice, and that's probably, in my opinion, now I don't compete, but in my opinion, that's what I see. And I think I'm kind of hitting the nail on the head because there is other countries out there that produce monsters. And we haven't done it since you and Will and Michael were there.
And people would argue, I have to say, they're going to say this anyway, people would argue when we qualified, that was at a time when CrossFit was still in its infancy, so anybody could have qualified. But anybody didn't fucking qualify. So at the same time, we still had to go and do the work. We still had to compete against guys who are still very prominent in the CrossFit game in Europe right now as well. But yes, the whole game has moved on, and it does make it an awful lot more difficult. But I think a lot of it will still come down from a male athlete perspective, is that they're not treating themselves like athletes, and that requires specialist coaching to work on faults that they have in their game, and it also requires for them to be a little bit more sensible about how they're listening or not listening to their body. Like it's very easy to get caught up in PRs and catching up with people and chasing numbers, as opposed to like being very slowly incremental about it and thinking that look, this is might take me 2 years to get to the level where I feel my numbers are correct for what I want to do. But most people are so impatient, so they end up trying to PR, getting injured, training through injuries an awful lot, and then I have to go and get surgery. Like I have no surgery, no problems. I'm 40 next year, and these guys are like 28 or 30, and you're like, I'm getting kind of old for CrossFit now. Like I'm kind of an older athlete. Like I started CrossFit when I was about 33, 34. So like
there you have it.
So
suck it up.
There's no, I don't buy that. I buy smart programming, listening to your body, about one workout per week where you're working pretty damn hard, 2 good sessions, and then the rest of them are punch the clock volume work. And I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of people make in their CrossFit training, is there's not enough volume work, especially on high skill movements. So when somebody's doing muscle ups, they're like, oh well, that workout led me to doing 10 muscle ups. I'm like, when they come up in competitions, it won't be 10, it'll be 30 and 40. Same with handstand push-ups. So that's why people count workouts, they don't count reps. So I'm counting volume and reps as opposed to thinking about a specific workout, or I'm thinking about what do I want from that specific workout. That's probably one of the biggest things we would have had conversations with over the years in terms of how we program for the academy, is what are we looking for from that workout, from that client. Are we massively getting into energy systems development and getting totally technical about it? Not massively, but we understand like this workout is going to produce this effect, and we make clients aware that this is going to feel this way and this workout is going to feel another way.
And it's been proven now, because you train like some of the strongest women in the world. And men.
We've got Paul Brennan holds a world record.
So like
he's got a world record, and about 3 or 4 women with world records, European records, national records in powerlifting.
So like with that, obviously like powerlifting is different from CrossFit, but still the same. You still have to have a discipline. You still have to have a program.
All these guys can Metcon too.
That's true. The Filthy 150 you can.
We came first. We won it. The scale Saturday. We won it, the scale version, and then we came 10th in the RX. So look, at the end of the day, it's about being all round. What we try to do is we try to make them all round, like rounded athletes, not just. We do have specific CrossFitters and specific powerlifters and all that kind of stuff, and Olympic lifters and stuff. But we don't let the powerlifters just come in and lift loads of heavy weights and not do some sort of conditioning and stuff. So there's always some mix.
Chad Wesley Smith said that in a recent interview on another podcast, where he was asked about, well, look, if you had a choice between a certain type of athlete and a CrossFit athlete to come and train, he'd take the CrossFit athlete, because he knows they would probably have a better work capacity as a base work capacity to begin with. So when they start to do more specific work, then because they have that base GPP already in place if they've been doing it for a while, then he'd prefer to deal with that person because they're not dealing with somebody who has kind of no base to begin with.
They'll recover quicker as well.
Yeah, exactly. You can handle a lot more work, but only if that workload is appropriate to the individual, and there's percentage work based on max on their training max on their lifts, and these are sort of discussions we would have all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas other coaches are like, oh right, let's create this workout that's going to beast people, and like I still see it in people's programming where if you add up the number of reps that are completed over the course of a workout, if it's like a 10-minute piece or if it's a 5 rounds for time, the volume on certain movements, whether it's like a burpee, box jump, thrusters or whatever, is monstrously high, and that's why I think a lot of people can just break their clients up unknowingly and not move on where CrossFit has moved on to in the last few years, because we don't lack like coaches that are smart about this out there. It's just maybe people not wanting to do it, to kind of be like, oh, I'm going to put my head in the sand and just do it my way. As long as people are sweating and working, it's fine.
Like for us, for what we do, like we don't promote like the 2 or 3 guys that can compete. They're students, and I let them do their thing, and we program from them. But like our general CrossFit is it's basic. It's all about at the end of every 10 weeks, are you fitter? Are you stronger? Are you a little bit leaner? Are you happy in yourself? Good. All right, let's go. We don't now. We throw in a hero WOD here and there.
Yeah, you can sex it up every now and again.
Just to kind of let's see how you can suffer a little bit. But like it's never like, oh yeah, you got Fran Grace and the Badger workout all in 1 week. Like, our members like, I can't move my arms.
Wrapped up.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. You're fine. You're all right.
You gotta get that pump. Get that pump.
have some fish oil. You'll be okay. So, Dominic, in Dublin, you're in CrossFit Green, and you've like your personal training. And it's like, again, you said you one top guys in the industry in Ireland, probably outside of Ireland as well, more known as well, getting more known and known. And now you've like one of the best gyms, in Kildare. And
Kildare?
It's
Ireland.
Yeah, it's
Ireland. I was getting it's grown. Like everyone is known, and everyone kind of knows you for your your very long posts.
Okay.
Happy Friday, happy Monday.
He put up a short one recently.
I did. Yeah.
That's a record.
That's massive for me. I struggled.
But as brothers, obviously growing up, like, was there a big competitive side between the two of you, or was there just kind of Dominic always won, or?
No, it's changed over the years. No. Well, growing up, it was competitive. So we played
We have a brother in the middle as well.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So
there's a buffer.
Yeah. So I would probably be a little bit too old to compete against Niall in anything, because I was just that little bit too old, and that we would have never been on the same teams or anything.
But it would have been, I think it would have been competitive anyway. As in, like, if Dominic went out, like when I was growing up, I used whatever the guys done, I done.
Yeah.
So whatever him and Enda done, they played football, I played football. They played Gaelic, I played Gaelic. They played basketball, I played basketball. They got athletics. Dominic and Enda were fastest in the country for their age, and they were getting to Mosney. So I was like, well, I'm going to start
community games finals.
So I made the Mosney like 6 or 7 years in a row, and growing up I was one of the fastest kids in Ireland, and I made the Leinster team for basketball, I made the Midlands team for basketball, playing football, played anything the guys done, I just done, but I tried to do better. You know, that kind of way. So that competitiveness, as in we'd never compete against each other. Sometimes we play play basketball, all that kind of stuff on different teams, but like to come home, I was always proud, like to say, oh, I got this or I got that, whatever, like that, kind of just a show off.
It's good as well to play multidisciplinary sports at a young age. Anyway, I don't buy into the whole idea that people should specialize unless you're amazingly talented and you have to specialize. Let's say gymnastics at, let's say, 8 years old. I can understand that, but there's so much research that shows that like you're better off to do multidisciplinary sports. You know,
we found with our CrossFit Kids that
FSMRX is currently experiencing some difficulties. Please enjoy the following photos while we work behind the scenes to get you back to the show.
So again, another ad. I hope you enjoyed the ad. It was Dom flexing.
Full flex.
So we just finished. We were talking about kids and kids in school, and we did. I went around and I offered 19 schools free kids training, and I had 2 schools come back to me. Now, unfortunately, when I said CrossFit to one group of kids, the kid got sick instantly. which was the first time that's ever happened. I just went, and we're going to do CrossFit today. And keep going, all on the floor, and I was like, oh, brilliant. That's the first.
Wow, that's a Pavlov dog reaction right there.
I think he was one of those kids like who doesn't want to do anything. It's like an automatic. There's always someone in school that can make himself get sick.
Yeah.
But it was very funny. Our other trainer was in a knot then. She couldn't coach for ages. She was so funny. But the kids thing is huge. I think that it needs to start, and they're like 1 hour PE a week is ridiculous, and that's a whole other issue.
But that's all I'm saying. What I said about the kids earlier, I was just getting into whatever is. Other countries I think are more developed, only for a simple fact is I think when they have PE, like say clock off and all, when we were talking to him, he said like they used to do gymnastics, they used to do lifting, they used to do everything as kids in primary schools. I'm not saying like clock off's like a freak of nature or whatever like that, but other Scandinavian countries you were talking about earlier on, like guys from Denmark, Norway, all these big beasts that are turning up to all these CrossFit games and all this kind of stuff, you know, like
they're all their 10,000 hours in a lot here.
But it's a mix of everything. It's a mix of everything.
But any like I just want to sound stereotyping here, but any kind of like Scandinavian person or any like say anyone we've got like Indonesian, all that kind of stuff that have come to our gym, their movement is amazing. Their movement, everything. They said, oh yeah, when we were playing PE, we used to do gymnastics, we used to do this, we used to do that. Everybody that's ever come has had some sort of background as kids and kept it on. Not kept it on as in the training, but they kept all the mobility and stability and the core strength throughout their whole life, whatever. And I think that's what we're missing in this country. We're not. I've never. Honest to God, I've never done PE in the whole of primary school and in secondary school minimal. Okay, so the PE session was one ball between 50 kids in secondary school, but not once I can kind of remember in primary school doing PE.
Not proper physical education anyway.
No,
it's just
and the problem is that again we're coming back to it's the same with nutrition as how it's taught in Ireland, is that if you're relying on your government to keep yourself healthy, I think you're screwed. Like you have to take it in your own hands. Like I'm going to go and pick my daughter up now from Irish dancing. She was in tennis yesterday. These are all after school activities that you have to take them to, which is unfortunate. I think you have to do it that way because it's going to cost you more to do that. And then there's a certain amount of play that's necessary that a lot of parents don't participate in with their kids because they're all working late and not getting home until after 8 o'clock and the kid's already in bed, and that's very sad. And on the weekend it's hard because the parents are still kind of recovering from work and you know, it's a very, very tough way to do things. But I think if you can spend a bit more time just actually doing activities, whether that's just flying a kite or playing a bit of football with your kids, I think the volume would add up and the problems with obesity would be far less activity.
Or we're up there at the highest in the world. I think we're third in the world and second in Europe. Behind England, is it? And then in the same 10 years' time, we are going to be the worst. So we're going down the wrong road at the moment. But it's people like yourselves and stuff like that, and we run kids classes too. That's trying to change.
It's just the mindset. It's slow. It's not like I just say like every Saturday morning. It's who had breakfast. What you have.
Exactly.
Okay. And if someone had a bad breakfast, we wouldn't tell them it's bad. It was like, I said, why don't you try and have what Lottie had? Because I know Lottie had a decent, like a good kids, like a breakfast for kids, like whatever porridge or whatever she had. It was well. So why don't you try and have that this week, and then we try and switch each other's breakfasts up. And it's not enforcing nutrition. It's like, oh well, I want to try what such because another kid's doing it and they see it.
I've had lots of clients that have brought their kids in. The training.
I've seen like some of the videos and stuff.
And they tell me like the kid goes home and I would say things to the kid like, you drinking water and eating fruit. They'd go home and they'd be like chucking the water and eating the fruit like crazy. And they're telling their friends like, I trained with Superman today, you know. Because kids won't do what you tell them a lot of the time. They'll do what they see. So unfortunately, kids need to see their parents do what they need to do, as opposed to kids being told by the parents what they need to do. But the parents aren't even following that advice either. You know,
that's the biggest thing. That kids need guidance.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So if they're given the proper guidance, they'll be fine. I think. I just don't think they're getting the proper guidance. I'm not saying all of them, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying it's
and look, and we acknowledge that it's not easy for parents that are out there, especially if there was a single parent involved or anything. It is a very, very tough job. But at the same time, I'm sorry, but you're a parent. You have to sign up and be part of the program then. Because,
definitely.
You know, you have somebody there that you're bringing into the world that they've enough on their plate without adding to illness and obesity onto their plate as well. You know.
Okay, guys. So we got one more quick question, and we ask everyone this on the interviews. You have a choice. You can answer both or pick one. An inspirational person in your life, or that's motivated you to become the person you are today, or a book that you think that if you're in the industry, or just a personal growth book that people should, hand on their heart, be reading. What would it be?
I probably chopped and changed a lot with this in terms of a book. I'd probably say right now, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. If you want a real kick in the butt on what you need to be doing in terms of like where you want to go in life in anything, it's all about like just do the work and stop, peeing and moaning about it. And maybe The Obstacles Way by Ryan Holiday as well. I think those two are fantastic.
Unbelievable book.
Yeah, they're both very, very good. There's loads of business ones. I really love Tom Peters. I love Brian Tracy. I don't buy into all the marketing and fitness sort of stuff that's being sold around at the moment that's very overly aggressive and overly hyped. I've blogged about it a ton already. Don't need to go into it. But I think those two books are quite good because it comes down to like just do the bloody work. It's going to be a slog. There's no fast way of doing it, and a lot of people just aren't prepared for the amount of work that it takes to be successful. It's going to take 20 years to become an overnight success.
Last book I read, I've read them as well. The last book I read was by Seth Godin, and it was The Purple Cow.
Oh, you were mentioning that.
I mentioned that earlier on. The Purple Cow.
I'll have to get that.
So basically,
smart guy.
Yeah, unbelievable, and it's only like
very short.
Very short, so it's not gonna suit me. But very, very, very good, and puts things into perspective. Especially, it reminded me of the fitness industry, as in the analogy I suppose behind it is like if you're driving along and you see like cows in a field, like they all look the same. So how do you become the purple cow in the field to stand out from a cow full of field or a cow full of field, a field full of cows or whatever, So it's like the fitness industry. There's gyms opening up everywhere. You know what I mean? We were the first, I think, strength and conditioning gym in Kildare, and then all of a sudden now there's just boom, 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 boom everywhere. So how do you stand out? How do you become that purple cow? So again, it's not got to do with the fitness industry, the book, but it gives you ideas that you can bring to your business. So that'd probably be mine.
And that's an important point as well, because I think a lot of people who are in the industry have this lack mentality that I have to do this because this other gym's around the corner. I have to do that. That's come up for us before. My simple response is, so what you're telling me is you're not actually confident in what you have to sell. Because if you're very confident in what you have to sell and your product is really, really good, then you shouldn't care if the gym opens up around the corner. Because what you have to sell is so solid, and you're always going to have an audience. And if we look at the content that we put up for free all the time, lots of success stories, lots of normal people doing extraordinary things, or normal people doing really good things. But we never live in this lack mentality that that a lot of people seem to feel the need that they have to hard sell things as a result then. And sorry, the inspirational person?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never...
Is he in the room?
No. You want me to say Dominic,
I was going to hope
look, of course, I always looked up to Dominic growing up and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, when I got into the fitness industry and I started to do all this kind of stuff, he would have been a massive inspiration for me. And even still to this day, he is whatever like that. I'm very proud to and very lucky to have him as my brother. But the thing about it is, I've never grown up. I've never really looked up to anybody. I've never been
our
inspired
parents in a way.
Because
they never really got in our way. They never told us we couldn't do anything. We were plenty of trouble for them too. But
that's kids are allowed to that.
He wasn't like that when he was younger, by the way. He was worse than me.
But I think though, like they never got in our way. They didn't come to our sports all the time or anything like that. But they were always very supportive of what we did, and I think that's a big part of it as well. So I don't think really either of us were the sort of people that had posters on our wall of athletes or whatever. We liked Michael Jordan and and certain people like that, but we never were really the sort of people that kind of idolized them to the point where the person stopped doing what they were doing because they became that armchair sort of guy who's sitting and talking about football or CrossFit all the time, and they don't really do it anymore, or they can't do it.
I think we were just too busy doing everything that we didn't have one specific Well,
yeah.
I think we played everything. We were just so busy.
Out of the eight interviews we've done, we've asked everyone. It's always been someone close, someone family member. It's never been this kind of like someone held on a pedestal, like best strength coach in the world, or it's always a family member, someone that's kind of helped them along the way. Yeah. Which is kind of the best way, the best of people to kind of inspire.
Which again comes back to like if you're looking to work with somebody in the industry, isn't it making a lot more sense to be looking at people that are close to you as opposed to like idolizing these people that come to Dublin for a weekend and you're like, yes, I was at the Christian Tattoo Seminar, it was amazing, I learned la la la. That's great, super, I really love them as a coach, but you need to find somebody that you can trust and that you can buy into, as opposed to feeling that you got to program hop all the way around different people because you think that somebody has this little golden nugget that's going to transform you into this super athlete, as opposed to, no, I'm sorry dude, you got to just put in the hard work like we all did, you know?
That's massive now at the moment. People just
program
hop between everybody. Oh, here, he's happy, he's happy getting that result, them results, I'm going to get that, blah, blah, blah. And you've got so many people just hopping around, whatever, for sure. That's fitness.
Yeah.
Well guys, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Guys, there's going to be links to Dominic's website, the Performance Fitness Academy, the Instagrams and stuff, and the big
www.adonismaxshirtoff.com.
Yes.
Thank you.
Link below. Follow his Instagram, The Way of Dom.
Did I say he was an inspiration?
Yeah. It's on camera now.
I know.
I can help. I'll mute you. Okay, guys, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right, cool.
Hey guys, don't forget to jump over to our website crossfitfsm.ie and download your free Rogue Nutrition ebook. And also keep track of our blog as we've got more upcoming interviews with great coaches and athletes coming your way.